that is GSOC that we are going to discuss today. So, like this session, as I'm sure you've got a brief about it, that it is about Google Summer of Code and the GSOC program that is funded by Google. So it will be delivered by myself, Vishwarup Banerjee, and my friend Madhur. He has also joined me in the chat. So, like a brief introduction about us. I am currently working with this organization called DIRAC. So DIRAC is data intensive research in astronomy and cosmology. So it deals with building tools and softwares for telescopes that are like DIRAC actually builds tools and software for several large scale telescopes. So I'm a part of the project where I'm developing some softwares to help astronomers and this astronomy scientists to build like softwares to run their telescopes in a much better way. So I'm joined with Madhur Gupta. He is also working with Wikimedia and he will give a brief about what he is doing. Yeah, Madhur, you're muted. Yes, Madhur, please unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep, totally.
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Madhur. I'm working with Wikimedia Foundation with the Google Summer of Code 2020. So I'm working as an Android developer on their Wikimedia Commons Android application. So all the photographs you see on the Wikipedia or any other websites, so they are uploaded through this application. So it's currently in beta stage, but we are developing it from like past 2 years. So yeah, so I'm working on a leaderboard for this application. So where users can actually compete with each other on the amount of photographs they are uploading or using. So yeah.
Yep. So basically, as Madhur said, he works with Wikimedia. That is like if you have ever used Wikipedia, so Wikipedia is like the parent organization of Wikipedia is Wikimedia. So yeah, that is the okay. So let's start with a very basic like a discussion kind of thing. So okay, so we've started getting a few questions in the chat. So we will like surely take your questions after, let's say, like after a few slides. So yeah, so as you can see in the slide, what do these have in common? So like, what do you think these projects like Arduino, Git, Python, Wikipedia, and VLC have in common? So anybody of you like would like to think about it, like what do all these organizations have in common? And maybe you can switch on your video and or like leave the answer in the comments. Yep, exactly. So I can see lot many answers popping up, open source, open source. So yep, that's exactly what it is. Like all the organizations that you see here in the list, they all are like open source organizations, starting from Arduino to Git to Python. So here is this like gist of all the things. They are like very big open source project and they have millions of users. Like they have users in the count of millions and billions. And the best part of all these things is that a lot of many great developers are maintaining this project. That means these projects are built by like developers, those who have a very, very good experience and a very good background. So let's just have a quick look at the like the user base of all this open source project. So you can see like Python, it's used by approximately 8.2 million developers, followed by Wikimedia that gets approximately 18 billion page views. And you can see like the other similar projects, they have user base and this like user base and like users in the count of millions and billions. So this is just to give you an idea that open source, like the potential of open source project. Like open source project are like backed by several good companies and good people and are used by millions and billions of people. So yeah, coming to this thing, what if I would say that you could work with the people, those who are involved with this project? Like I would ask Madhur to like tell a bit about the what kind of like what people like the profile of the people he is currently working with at Wikimedia Foundation.
Yes, so with the Wikimedia Foundation, the quality of the product is quite good because it's used by billions of users worldwide. So the people who are involved are either working with Google or some other tech giants. So they work, it's either they do this thing as a hobby, but some people, they are working as a full-time employee as well.
Yeah. So as Madhur said, like this people that you get to work with in open source, they work at like in many good companies, and you can really build very good networking if you work with those kind of people. Just to info about this people. Yeah. So basically, I'm getting a few questions like for those people, those who joined recently. I'm just briefing it up again. So what we basically discussed is okay. So like we did a bit of the speaker introduction. Like I currently am a GSOC, like I'm working with GSOC for the organization named Dirac, and my co-host Madhuri is working with Wikimedia. Wikimedia like has several products, and Wikipedia is one of the products of Wikimedia. And then we started discussing about the several open source projects and what are the like a bit about the open source project. Like they have millions of users and they're backed by they're backed by several like very good developers, those who have very good experience and profile. And also this open source project, they have like millions and billions of views and like user base and users. So yeah, coming to the main point that we are like about to discuss is that what if you could work with these people, and what if you could work on project like this? So what if you can actually code, like you can actually contribute to projects like this that have millions of users, and what if you could get mentored by these people? So just imagine, just take a few moments and think, what if you could actually contribute to this project? What if you could work with these people? And what if the codes that you wrote, what if you could mention that you contributed to these projects in your CV and resume? Yeah, just think for yeah. And the best thing is, what if you could get paid like approximately 3,000 USD for just working 3 months and contributing codes to this project? Yeah, I can see someone raising a hand. Yep, can you
I think
please
we can take few questions now.
yeah, please, like you can type the question in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and come in the video and speak, whichever you prefer. Yes, I don't see anybody having a video. Like, feel free to like show your face. Like, that's definitely will make it much more engaging. Like in this lockdown, we are hardly seeing any faces. So yeah, please, if anybody is having any, yeah, please speak. Yes, I'm unable to hear you. It's muted. Yes, whoever is having a question, please speak. Okay, Ritik.
Hello.
Yes. Yep, I'm audible.
Hello,
Please speak.
Dipanjali.
Yes.
Yeah, so could you guys please tell us for people who are basic coders who know Python and Java basic languages right now, how to go about taking part in GSOC 2021, and are there when pair and when I should contact and things like that?
Okay, so if I got your question properly, you want to ask like how can like coders who have very basic knowledge of Python can go and contribute to like open source projects and be a part of GSOC 2021, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that is like those are the exact things that I have planned out in the entire session, and we'll be going through those one by one, like in the upcoming slides. So I would like suggest to just stick with it, and we will go through in detail about all the particular things, like all the topics that you asked about. Yeah. So we will get back to your question like once again in the end of the session. Cool. So right now, like we will tell welcome to Google Summer of Code. So that is what the all the like so Google Summer of Code is like open source program where you can actually work for these open source project and also get funded by Google for a duration of 3 months, and also get mentored by all the people those who are working in these organizations. So I would definitely suggest you all to like listen to the upcoming slides, as I will be discussing about all the things like how you from a very basic level of knowledge of programming can slowly build your profile and apply to Google Summer of Code, and then like maybe get in and then start contributing at a like at a larger level. So yeah, so let's just do a very basic overview of it. So it's like a 3 month like a 3 month internship, you can tell. Yeah, so it's like a 3 month internship that is funded by Google. And as I said previously, you write like you get paid to actually contribute to open source organization. So generally, you are not like open source contributions are absolutely voluntary, but here Google funds you for the duration of the time for your contribution, and also you get to learn a lot, and also you get a good stipend. And the best thing is that you can sit in your home and contribute to the GSOC project. So I think that's really interesting. In 3 months, you will sit in your home and get some very good experience and knowledge that you can add as a very good tag to your CV, and that definitely like help you in the long run. So yes, Madhu, you can tell us like if I have missed something, like any point
Yes, and
about.
also some various, there are many startups who are looking for the person who have worked on these open source projects. So their primary criteria for hiring is because you already work with something with this big scale. So they gives them confidence to hire these people.
Yeah, that is the thing. So, like many startups, they specifically look for students with a GSOC background so that they can be confident that they will be hiring like good set of people. So, yeah, that is the basic of. So, yeah, now coming to the GSOC process, as you are a lot many people were asking. So, how to get started with open source? Yeah. Cool. So the GSOC project, see, so I think like right now, this time is I think the best time to get started with open source and GSOC in general, because like right now you can like the process and the competition has not yet started. So you can like actually choose any, like the step one will begin with choosing a few organizations. So I think it will be good if I show you a live demo of how to actually go and do it. So see, like just go and type GSOC 2020. You all can see my screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. So just go and Google GSOC 2020 and then go to this organizations and click there. And as you click, you can see like the all the list of organizations that are a part that are like connected with the GSOC program, and you can select by category. So suppose you are interested into security, you are interested into web. For me, like I'm personally interested into web, so I will click on web, and then I will get to see all the organizations that are working on like web app or website related project, right? So you can, so for me, I'm working with, let me just show you, Open Astronomy. Open STRM. Okay, it's not coming up. Anyway, so basically what you can do is that, let's go to Caswin. Yeah. Why? Okay, got it. The filter is there. Okay, now suppose like you can search for any organization, and let's say I want to particularly contribute to this organization called Casbin. I can go and see all the projects that they're working on, and when I click on view idea list, you can see like exactly all the ideas that they have proposed. So you can see like all the ideas like that they have proposed, like these are the ideas that they want to build. So what you can do as for contributing, either you can like start contributing with any of these ideas, or you can like directly go to the issues section of the particular like of the particular project and then try to solve the issues. So we will get back like we will get to that one by one. So cool. So the step one is choosing an organization. I think this part is clear, right? Like you need to go to the particular GSOC website and then select it. Like either search by tag. Let me just show you another thing. Like suppose
I
I
have
want to.
what do these organizations remain same every year? Don't they change?
Okay, so
Okay,
see
so I think
the
I
that
can answer
is,
this one.
yeah, yep, yep.
Yes, so if you look at the past organization, there are many organizations which repeat every year because they are practically like involved in open source. So these, it's a good chance that the same organization will come again. So you can actually go and see the past year organizations as well. So Google Summer of Code, they have an archive website where you can actually see the past organizations.
Hello, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, so many organizations use different programming languages. So now how do you choose which organization? Like, because each one has so many languages. So how do you go about that?
Okay, so
Yes.
see, yes, Madhur, will you like to tell about it?
Yes, so if you go to any organization, they will have some kind of tags which defines their tech stack. So maybe Biswarup, you can guide us.
Okay, so yeah. So suppose you are good with React. Like let's assume you are good with React. So I will simply like React, and then I will see lot many projects coming up that are actually using React. So you see Casvin project is coming up, and if I click on it, you see it is tagged with React. So like, I would say choosing an organization, there can be two possible paths. The first path is suppose you're already good with a particular tech stack that is React. You go and search that particular tech stack in the search bar, and all the organization of that particular tech stack will pop up. So suppose you are good with Android, you go and like write Android, and you will get to see all the organizations that are working with Android. So that is one way. Or second way is like you go and select by the category. So suppose someone is into security and they want only like to work on security based project, so they can work on that type of project. So these are the two main, like the I would say, path to like see the like choose a particular organization, either based on your interest or based by the tag that you are selecting. So does this answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get to the second, like start contributing to the org. So
Yeah,
like
Biswarup,
right now,
I think we are getting questions about the eligibility. So maybe we can
okay.
answer this.
Yeah, sure, sure. So
Yes.
what if a guy is in fourth year of BTech and he still have a chance? Okay, see. So let's start with the eligibility. So eligibility, it clearly says that as per like the date of your graduation, it should be I think this particular whenever they declare the result. So that declaration of result, or I think the proposal submission should be like less than the this particular your graduating date. So suppose I'm giving you examples. So suppose you graduate. So suppose you're in fourth year, even then you can apply and get selected. So like up till fourth year you can do, but after fourth year you cannot. So until and unless you are a student, you can definitely apply. So that is like to keep it simple.
I have a question. Hello.
Yes.
Uh, there are some cases where organizations receive greater number of applications and lesser number of people get selected, right? Did you
Yep.
personally take that into consideration while choosing your organization?
So if you ask me personally, then like to be very honest, like I did a bit of research on which kind of yes. Can the other people please mute? Let me mute everybody else. Yeah. So like coming to that topic of like how to choose an organization. So yes, I did a bit of like I personally did a research on which organization might have a bit less of like competition. So you can act, like that is again my personal view, and I would not encourage someone to like choose an organization based on like how many others are applying, like, and always to have like faith in yourself. But like that is what I personally did. Like I kind of was more like I kind of applied to only those organizations where I felt the less people will be applying. So yes, you can do your own research to find out like which organization might have a very high competition and which organization can have a lower one. So yes, Madhur, would you like to speak something about this, like choosing an organization based on the competition of it?
So does that mean it does increase your chances of getting selected?
Yep, obviously, like I'm telling you, the project I applied to had like 3 other applicants only. So like that is, I think if you calculate percentage weight, I had a 33.33% chance of getting in. Like, but in organization where Madhur work, it's Wikimedia, and I think the competition is very like it's a lot more. Like, what do you think about it? Yes,
Yes.
Madhur.
Yes, I think first you need to decide which organization you want to work with, because it's not about getting into the program just, but you have to work for the 3 months. So you have to first be confident that you are comfortable with the tech stack, you're comfortable with the people you are working with, and then you can decide if you are willing to work with some other organization, or you want to stick with this one. And it's a true fact that every organization, they receive many applications, but only the people who are regular contributors or are very active, they get a good chance to be selected.
Yeah, that's very true. So
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
yeah. So now coming to the like I think we talked about the eligibility that you need to be a student and up to like not that key it's fourth year, like even if you're in MTech or if you're pursuing PhD, then also you can apply. So that is the thing. So now start contributing to the organization. So that's also pretty much So that is like what many people are actually confused about. They may end up choosing an organization, but when it comes to actually contributing, they get a bit confused. So again, let me take an example of the organization Caspian and how I started. So the step one is I would suggest take the organization name, go to their GitHub repository, go to their particular GitHub repository, yeah, and then you click on the issues tab. And then in the issues, you can see like there are a lot many unsolved issues that people are looking for help. So if you type my name, I think I contributed a few things. It's not coming. Again, PR, I think it will be. Yes. Yep. So what I will suggest is that you need to the step one that you need to do is to like go to the particular organization's GitHub repository, then go to the issues tab and then find which all issues like you think you can solve. So like for me there were some like I started with very simple GitHub issues like some let's say fixing a particular CSS issue or like fixing a particular like a very simple styling issues and things like that. And then slowly I took up more responsibilities, and then like that is how like you start basically. So you like start with a small issue and then try to solve it, and then talk with the other maintainers to see what all more modules and issues can be solved, and then you like slowly take up more responsibilities and contribute more. I think Madhur can explain this particular thing in a better way, and as he has been like working with Wikimedia for a pretty long time.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Madhur, you are muted. Yes, you are muted. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, so I'm working with Wikimedia for more than 2 years now. So if you can open the website of my particular project, maybe I can show you how I decided to start the contributions.
Wikimedia GitHub, right?
Yes, so it's like GitHub/Commons Android.
It's just
Okay, so maybe I can share the link. It will be a little faster.
let me search it. There are just too many projects. Android.
Okay, yeah. So I just shared my link in the chat. So
Okay, got it.
yes. So this is the particular repository of my project. So if you go to the issues, you can see there are more than 500 issues.
Yeah. 500 opens.
And more than, I think, 1300 or 1400 issues already resolved.
Yeah.
Yes. So you see every organization who has a large number of issues, they add tags to each issue. So you can see some issues they have listed bugs. So these are something which are breaking the system or having some difficulty for the users. And some also have a first good issue. So if you go to the labels on the top, just select first good issue. Yeah, good first issue. So this is for the first time contributors. So if you are totally new to the repository, you can look at these issues and you can see if somebody is already working on it. If not, maybe you can start working on it. So these are particularly the curated ones which are easy for the newcomers.
So you like simply click on it and go and read the chat, like whatever chat is currently happening. And if you think like nobody else is working on it, you can simply comment like I'm interested to solve these issues, and then like after you have solved it, you can make a pull request. So like, yeah, so
Hey,
that is
Biswa.
yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
I have a question. Like, I want to know that what is your people qualification? Like, you people must be having a higher qualification or like a higher knowledge so that you are able to work on this GSOC project or what is it? So, like, I want to know like what you people studied beforehand. Like, what is the pre-requisite knowledge to do?
Okay, so if I get your
So
question
Madhur,
correctly,
will
you
you
are,
like to?
yes, so you are asking about the prerequisites for this program?
No, not the prerequisites of this program. Like I am asking about like what languages you people uh, learn or the things related to it, so that you can do it very finely in a very fine way, like from where you people started.
Okay, so
Okay,
I
so
think it's quite it's quite usual to ask like this kind of question, because when we started, I started like 2 years ago. So I started with the very trivial issues. So if you, Biswaru, if you can open my first pull request, maybe you can see what was the status of my coding skills at that time.
okay.
Okay,
Any
thank
pull
you, sir.
request tab, right?
Yeah, you just search in with my name, and maybe I can just share the link, direct link.
Yep. That will be better. Okay, so there is a question that in the chat that I wanted to answer. So it says, isn't GSOC for college and university students? How are you guys SDE as well as GSOCer? Okay, so like I want to like make it clear is that we are SDE, like we worked as an SDE intern. So like Madhur was working at Sigfox in Paris. Like he came back because of the lockdown and all, and like I have previously worked as an intern with companies like Pratilipi, Upgrad, and there is another tech startup called Trell. So that is what I've like previously interned in my like third and fourth year. So yeah, so I think that clarifies the question. Like, so yes, and yes, the GSOC is specifically for like college student only. Like as I said, like you can be BTech or MTech or PhD, but you need to have the student tag. GSOC is for everyone beyond the age of 18. Like as I said, like not for everyone, but for college students only. What if a guy is in fourth year? Yep. So definitely they can, like, even if it is there in fourth year, I think you have to enroll in a program like BTech. So if you're still enrolled. Okay, cool. So we will get back to the. Yes, Madhur, are you sending the link?
Yes, here it is.
Okay.
Madhur, I have one question. Uh,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, let us say I want to contribute on one of the programming language which I am 100% confident. So I just want to go to that particular GitHub. I'm interested in that project. I understood everything, like all the documentation. So now what I should do to contribute? Let us say I know the issues, like one, two issues I understood. So directly should I go and start and raise a pull request, or how should I process with this?
Okay, so I think each organization, they have a code of conduct and standard guidelines you have to follow when you are making a contribution. So for particularly my organization, what we do, we first discuss the approach about the implementation of that issue. And once the approach is final, you can go ahead and open your pull request, and reviewers, they actually give you feedback on your code. So this is the first ever pull request I created for this project. So you can see it's a very small issue. I just needed to
Yeah.
add a forgot password option to the Android application login page. So if you scroll down, you can see like I have a lot of discussion. So getting your first pull request merged, it takes a lot of effort and patience. So you can see when I first
It's
solved the issue,
2018.
yes, it's March 2018, and you can see like I have a lot of discussion going on. And after a lot of discussion, finally, once my changes were accepted, it was merged.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, a couple of times they may reject your pull request, right?
Yes,
exactly.
so it happens because you see these people, they want your code to be perfect, because it goes into the production, it's going to be used by the actual users. So because we don't know how to work on this large scales, we don't know the standard coding practices which are followed in the industry. So we have to accept the feedback which the maintainers they give us, and it's also improves our coding skills. So this is how I started with a very small issue, and then I moved to the other complicated issues.
Exactly.
So, Madhur, how do you get recognized in such a large organization like Wikimedia?
Yes. So I'm sorry. What is your exact question?
So, you have a lot of issues and pull requests here, right? You will have lot number of people working on issues. So, if you want to increase your chance of getting selected, we might have to have some recognition among the mentors of the organization, right? So, how do you
Yes.
make
Yes.
yourself known to the people?
Okay, so the best way is to just get started, and starting is solving the issues you actually understand or you can actually contribute to. So uh, once you have a good number of pull requests merged, your mentors will definitely know about you. So once when you're submitting the proposal, you can mention the contributions you have already made. You can also show your profile, like I've worked with these projects, I've worked with this company as interns. So this actually makes a good proposal and a good profile for your application.
Thank you.
Cool. So yeah, so as Madhur said, like how to start like contributing to the organization by slowly solving the issues and making pull requests and getting those marched. So like although it sounds like a lot many things, but I would suggest to like take things step by step. So first thing is like find a good tech stack, like learn it. So there are several resources that you can learn from. So I think the first step, like the step zero, will be to learn all the tech stack that you like that you can potentially, and then the second step will be to choose organization and then like start contributing to the organization based on the tech stack that you are aware of. So yeah, writing a proposal, submitting a proposal, there's all this comes after you have like have interacted with the organization for a certain amount of time. But I think like right, all these things we can have a totally different session about writing a proposal, and I think it is better if we discuss it later because in detail, because like right now the organizations take proposal at around like the March or like yeah, around March. So it's like approximately 1 year later. So basically, I can give you a basic idea in the proposal. What you do is that like you just write down exactly how you are going to build a particular project, or you are going to like the project that will be building in the GSOC term. How will you be exactly building that? So that is you write in the step by step. Like I will be building this API. This is how the UI will look like and things like that. And then you submit the proposal, and if you get selected, the work begins from June. So yeah, so once you submit it in March, April, by April or May, you get to know whether you will be like you are shortlisted or not. And then like if you are shortlisted, the work begins. So yeah, basically we how to choose an organization, how to contribute, writing a proposal. I think we covered all this thing. So finally, after you're learning a tech stack, contributing to the tech stack, and then like contributing to the organization, you're finally selected, and then GSOC starts with lot many meetings. So this is like as you can see, I'm there, and these are all the people in my organization with whom I work. So we basically work totally remotely from my home, and we use Zoom and Google Meet for all our communication. So that is how the entire summer goes, and I think like it's a very good experience as you get to learn a lot many things from like people those who are distributed all across the globe. So that's indeed a very good experience that you can gain in your student life. So yeah, that is the thing. So now benefits of GSOC, as Madhur already said, like the GSOC tag, it helps you to like getting your resume shortlisted, and also there are several organizations that give you potentially full-time offer to join their organization as a full-time developer. I think Madhur's Wikimedia Foundation also has a very good like a very good onboarding system for full-time developers if they are interested to work there. And also lastly, it's fun and you learn a lot. And also yeah, Madhur, would you like to talk about the like the learning experience, like working on such a big code base and all?
Yes, so because you are working on something which are actually used by millions of users, so the coding standards you learn, the scale of the project is big, and the code base is also very big, and the mentors, they are actually from the industry, so they have like 10, 12 years of experience. So this is something which you will not learn in your regular college course, but this is something you will learn in the industry. So you can start learning beforehand by just making the open source contributions.
So that is the like the basic idea. So yes, now we are like totally open to question. Let's first get done with the question that are in the chat boxes. So there are a lot many questions. Cool. So let me just stop the screen share for a moment. Stop share. Let me bring it this way. Cool. Okay. Let's start with the questions. How to get started? How to get started with open source? Do we need experience? Do we need experience to get into GSOC? Madhan, will you like to speak about it? Vibhash asks, do we need experience to get into GSOC?
I'm sorry, your voice actually break in between.
Okay, just 1 second. This is the mute all. Yes, am I audible now? Better?
Yes, it's better.
Okay, so what I'm asking is that Vibhash is asking, do we need experience to get into GSOC? What is your view on this?
Okay, so experience, so you just need a basic programming and development experience. You just need to know the basics of Git. You don't need to have a very big industry experience or internship experience, because you will learn on the way by just making small contributions, and you will go step by step.
Yeah, that is the thing. And Sania, I guess I have answered your question. Gosh, GSOC is everyone. I think you have to enroll in a program if you're not interested in intern as a mentor. Okay, can you still intern as a mentor? So I'm not very sure about the how to be a mentor. Like, do you have any idea like how to be a GSOC mentor?
Yes, so I think if you are very active in the organization, if you are helping the students already who are new to the organization, so the maintainers or the organization administrators, they will recognize you and they can ask you to become a mentor for the GSOC. So you can be a mentor if you are 18 plus. There's no foundation if you are a university student or you are an industry engineer. So yeah.
So that is the thing. Like your contributions matter more than anything, I guess.
Yes.
Yep, we have another question. Do we need to resolve issues before getting selected? So, like, I have a bit of conflicting opinion. Like, I think it totally depends on the organization. For like my organization, I did not contribute as such. Like, I did not resolve any issue as such. But again, what I believe, either you need to have very good previous work experience or you need to have experience within the organization to get selected. So I think for my case, what like they looked into all my previous work, my previous internship experience, my previous projects and all, and then based on that they selected me. But I think for Madhur, like Madhur's organization, it was more of like they selecting him because of like his contribution to the organization as well. I think it totally depends on the organization you are applying. So
Yes,
So-
would you
because
like to, yeah.
So
Yes.
how many organizations do we generally shortlist? I mean, did you people generally shortlisted for contributing?
Okay. So like so see that the steps that I followed is that I like found out all the organizations that are working on React.js and JavaScript and maybe in the front end tech stack. And there I saw like approximately 5-6 organizations were there. And then from those I found out the projects which I believe that I could contribute in a much better way. So in that way I shortlisted the organization. Approximately 3 organizations I shortlisted, and also I shortlisted 3 because 3 is the maximum number of proposals you can make. Like as a student, you can make only 3 maximum proposals. So yeah, that is the point.
yes, and also each organization they have multiple projects. So
Yeah,
if you are just sticking to work on one organization, you can contribute to different projects.
yeah.
So then,
That
should you make 3 proposals or should you stick to only one?
Okay, so it totally depends on you if you want to submit more than one proposal. But for me, I only submitted one proposal because I just wanted to work on this project and this idea. But if you want to work on the other projects, you can go ahead and submit the proposals, but make sure like you have a good number of contributions, because sometimes there are multiple people who are applying for the same idea, and the deciding factor, it comes to the organization when that you have a number of contributions or you have industry experience.
Yeah.
So what is
That
a good
is.
number of contribution? I mean, how many contribution can you consider good?
Okay, so there is no magic number for this. So I personally had more than 40 PRs which were merged and were like 10 more open. So because I was contributing for more than 2 years, so that is why I have this big number. But there are certain people who just get into the program with just 4 to 5 good contributions. So they can be like some trivial PRs, which are like many small changes, or they could be just one pull request which has a very good change. So maybe like you fixed a small bugs, and there's a student who just fixed like who converted the whole code base to some other tool or some other framework which organization was looking to have for more than 1 or 2 years. So it totally depends on the project and the quality of contribution you make.
Thank you.
So Mukul Gupta asks how much time we need to get prepared for this. So I think that's like a very personal thing, like how much time you personally take to learn a particular tech stack, choose an organization, and use your learning to make the contribution to that. So it totally like it varies from person to person. Coming to this, some tips or suggestion for writing proposal. I think like right now, tips or suggestion for writing proposal, like it's better if we schedule another one like when the time is right, like after let's say about 10 months. So right now it's better to like stick to other things like which organization to choose, how to contribute, and things like that. What are the language prerequisite to code easily in GSOC? So I think there is no as such like uh, code easily. So it all depends on which organization is using which language. So based on that, you like if you're, as I said previously, if you're good in Python, choose an organization that is working on Python. So that will make you make it easier. Can pass out apply for GSOC? Abhinav Dhiman is asking. So no, like pass outs cannot apply for GSOC. You should be enrolled in a particular university course.
Yes, so because when you apply for the GSOC, they will ask you for a proof of your eligibility. So there you have to upload either your student ID card or the enrollment letter or something like that. So you need to have a valid document to just get into the program.
Exactly. Can you please tell again what are the basic step? I mean, what are the first step I take as a beginner? So Ujjwal Pandey is asking like the basic steps. So as I said, the step 0, I'm again repeating, you should be to have a good knowledge about a particular tech stack. So unless you have a good knowledge on a particular tech stack, you cannot like expect to go and learn everything by contributing to the organization. So I would again tell step 0 should be to learn the particular tech stack and then choose the organization and then start contributing. So that is you can take a step 0.
Yes, and you don't need to be a master in a particular tech stack. If you know the basics, if you can understand the code base, you can actually if you can understand how you can solve that particular issue. So let's say for me, if because I already know about the Android, so I know how to add that forgot option in that particular login screen.
So that is the thing. Coming to how to break the problem statement for project given and walk through it fully and efficiently. I think again that is a very like it varies from person to like organization to organization, and it depends on a personal level how comfortable you are with dealing with the entire problem statement as a whole.
And yeah, so I think this is related to the proposal writing. So
exactly.
maybe we can cover this in the next session.
Yeah. What are the better areas? What are the better areas for projects? I did not get your question. Like maybe you can be a bit more specific. Vyomesh, what makes a good proposal? Okay, so if you ask me like to give a brief of it, I think like a good proposal is a proposal where you exactly write down the like the steps of exactly how you are going to build. So for me, what I personally did is that I wrote down all the APIs that I will be building, how exactly the UI will look. So I took a design tool, anything you can use, like Sketch or Balsamic or Figma, and I designed exactly how the UI will look and how what all APIs will be working with which part of the UI. So I think Madhur, will you like to share something on what makes a good proposal?
Yes. So the first thing about a good proposal is you write about yourself, your experience, your background,
Yeah,
and then you talk about the contributions you have already been making to the organization, because it gives them confidence that you are, yes, you know about the tech stack, you know about the organization's code base, and you can actually go ahead and solve big issues. Then you break out your timeline of the particular project you're working on. So this is something very, very important, because you are working remotely with people, you are not interacting, you will not be interacting very much. So you have to give them that, yeah, so this is how I'm going to proceed on my project, and they can actually give you feedback on the timeline. So if they think something could give something need more time than anticipated, then you can change and improve it. And then later you just talk about your other things, your achievements and all. So this will also add good credit to your proposal.
yeah, exactly. Cool. So we have to contribute to one or more projects before we go for GSOC. So like if you want to make 3 proposals for 3 different organizations, then definitely you need to contribute to 3 different projects. Yeah. So can we get alerts from open source GitHub comments on my changes on my mobile phone? I think GitHub recently launched an Android app, right? So yep, I would suggest go and check out the Android app to
Yes,
get an idea of
and
it.
you can also subscribe to the email
Yeah,
notifications.
yeah,
So whenever somebody makes a comment or add a review to your code, you will actually get the notification immediately.
yeah. So that is, I think we have gone through all the question. If anybody has any question, feel free to just switch on the video or audio and ask, or else like type it in the chat box below. And also, meanwhile, like if you want to have like ask more question, I'm attaching the like my LinkedIn profile and Madhur's LinkedIn profile as well. So you can like get connected and ask us questions about like any other question that you may feel like. So we have, can we get guidance in our journey? Can we get guidance in our journey? Yeah, definitely. Like I think, uh, okay, I got a very, very interesting question. Yeah. So let me just finish it. How we get guidance in our journey. So I think the open source community is very open. Whenever you face any issue, you just make a comment, like tag the maintainer, get a comment, like tag the maintainer in the comment, and you can definitely get a reply. Yes, would you have anything to? Yeah, another thing. They have this Slack channel, so you can like join the Slack channel and message anyone. So I would suggest getting help in open source community is pretty easy. Yep. Would you like to add anything?
Yes, so every organization, because everybody is working remotely and they are not interacting physically with anybody, so they will always have a communication channel which is very active.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
either an IRC channel or a Slack channel or a Gitter channel.
yeah,
So it will be always active. So you can just ask, like you are facing this particular issue, and somebody will definitely reply to you.
yeah, exactly.
And
So yeah,
sometimes people also they just reply on your issue ticket and on your pull request. So there sometimes a discussion takes place and you will get the answers.
okay, yeah. Uh, like right now, like this particular question that we have right now, I'm like very much excited to answer it because like before coming into open source, I was actually into freelancing. So the question is how contributing to open source is better than freelancing. So like I think Madhu was also have done like good amount of freelancing. So from my personal experience, I feel freelancing, you don't get that much exposure and that much knowledge. So if you compare the knowledge, like in freelancing, the project that you are building, how many people will be using it? Like let's say it can be 100,000 at max, like 1 million people will be using it. But I generally have never seen any freelance project with a million user. So the projects that I've worked on have maximum like 100,000 or 200,000 users. But compare that with the freelancing with the open source community that you are working on. You have like millions and billions of users, and it's not only about the user base but also about the community and the people you work with. Like when I was working in open source, like the people that I interact with, they have like PhD, or they're like they have PhD from Princeton, and some of them are like working in top tech companies for the past 10 years. So getting to interact with people of that experience is something that makes like the gaining the knowledge or the growth curve in open source project much more. So I think in that perspective, from the knowledge point of view, like open source is something that you can definitely add in your CV. Also get like much more knowledge based on the interaction. Like I'm telling you from my personal experience, like the codes that I wrote for freelancing projects, they were not that much good. Like the code quality as a whole was very poor. But if you are contributing to open source project, you need to make sure that your code quality is up to the marks, like not up to the mark of a very good quality, and only then you can like actually contribute to the project. So we like again, it's totally based on my personal experience of freelancing and open source, and I felt that to brief it, the learning and the growth and the network and the people you meet via open source is much more better than what you get in freelancing. So yeah. So do you
One
have
question I
anything?
have.
Yeah.
The question is like when the code will be moving to production, like when we can use that feature.
Okay. Yes. Can you repeat it? I missed it.
Yeah, my question is, let us say today we have developed a feature, uh, 2 or 3 members of open source community. When that will be moving to the production?
Okay. So like I think Madhur will be able to answer it in a better way.
Yes, so whatever the features you are working, so they first go into the beta stage. So because every organization, they have users worldwide, so they don't want to push anything into the production which is not gone through testing or some other standard procedures. So they will release a version every uh, weekly or monthly, depends on how the code base is changing. So every organization, they have their CI and CD tools, which will actually gives you if your build is failing or your code has some any issues. And also you will write unit tests, which will actually test the code you are writing. So it will take some time, but definitely if your pull request is merged, it will go to production at some time.
Also, we have another question from Chandani. Is a good proposal enough, or discussion and blogging hold equal importance? So I think like everything has weightage to it. So you just cannot like submit a very good proposal and expect to get like that is the general rule of thumb. Like you need to have like proper like you need to have proper contribution as well as a good proposal to like have the best chances of getting there. So not that one particular thing has all the like can affect your acceptance or rejection. So if we have a few people, those who have raised the hand, they can like I'm unmuting them. They can like feel free to ask it via audio or here in the chat. Yes, if you all have any question, feel free to ask. Sorry, everyone in meeting.
Yes, sure, please go ahead.
Yes, who is? Yes, so do we have any more questions? If you have any more question, please drop it in the chat section or like just unmute yourself and ask. How to set up environment on my machine? Okay. So, yes, someone has shared a screen, I guess. Yes. Yeah. So, how to set up environment in my machine to run it. So, every organization has a very good README or a documentation that you can go through, and that has the exact steps of how to like run the particular program or run the particular setup in your laptop. So,
Yes, and also if you are facing any problem, you can just post your problem in the chat section of your organization,
yeah,
and
exactly.
somebody, because they have already been setting up this environment in the machine, so they can help you.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So Abhinav Dhiman is asking, I'm in last year, should I apply for GSOC? So I think I said it like, if you are currently in last year, then you cannot like for the 2020 pass outs, you cannot apply because we are already in GSOC 2020. But if you are like 2021 pass outs, you can definitely apply. But again, like if you are into MTech or something like that, then you can again apply. You need to have a valid student ID card. So that's the thing. So I saw a few more who were raising hands in the chat section. So feel free to either type it here or like unmute yourself and like you ask it via audio. Yep. So we will. Yes. So we can have a. If you all want, we can have a small photo session kind of thing with the all these speakers. So if you all are like, if you all have a proper webcam, then please switch it on. Like we are almost at the end of the session and we would like to have a photo session. Like I would love to. Yeah, is anybody unmuting it? Okay, I can see a few pictures popping up. Okay, nice, nice. Cool. So, like I will be tagging you all 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Can we expect a few more people? Like we have around 70, 80 people, and I can see only 3, 4 people. Yeah. Cool. Also, if you have liked the session, feel free to like tag me in like LinkedIn. Okay, cool. So I'm taking a photo. Say cheese.
Huge.
Cool. Just wait, let me change this screen. This is looking very bad. Yeah. Okay. This looks better. Cool, I've taken it. It looks pretty good. Okay, I like the background of Harish Khan. That's pretty good. Cool, it was nice meeting you. Yep, if you have any question, you can still ask. We have like, I guess, 5 minutes left. Yeah, shout out, please. Good session, so thank you. Yeah. So if you have any more question, we have like 5 minutes left. You can drop it in the chat box, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn or with Madhur. Yeah. Cool. So I think no one is having any more question. Just take your time. Okay.
Yeah, I think we can end the session now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
feel
sure.
free to drop your